Thanks for joining me for the discussion about the role of business in society.
Anytime. I've always thought that business is a social vehicle, a force for change in the world.
Well, I think a business is a financial vehicle with the aim to make money and lots of it.
I think that any modern business must be able to hold itself to the idea of corporate social responsibility, the three pillars of social, economic, and environmental responsibility.
I disagree.
You don't think they should act responsibly?
I don't think it's possible according to CSR because so-called economic responsibility is what's most important and the others only get in the way.
What do you mean? A business has a duty to look after its customers, its business partners, and any other stakeholders involved. Treating people fairly is important.
Except a CEO has a legal and moral duty to act in the best interest of their company's shareholders, no one else.
And the environment, you condone big businesses ruining the world for a few extra bucks to squeeze a few more models off the assembly line?
When those practices make more money, yes. Look, you can argue all you want about how we should throw money at starving orphans or adopting goals or planting trees, but the fact is, all of those things cost money. If social responsibility means hiring people who aren't right for the job because they fill a minority quota, or setting up offices in bad locations because they need the help, then I want no part of it. The bottom line is that a social responsible company is a self-sabotaging one.
That's not true. Have you looked at CSR reports for companies like Microsoft or Google? They spent millions each year on charity work, and they're far from strapped for cash.
You're cherry-picking from the biggest companies in the world here. Smaller businesses can't afford to do things like that. Not wasting money on publicity stunts like that is the economically responsible thing to do.
Economically responsible? Have you forgotten the crisis in 2007? Those kind of business practices and the obsession of winning big is what led to the failure of the system. The banks had so much money tied up in risky securities they couldn't pay back the customers. How is that responsible?
You're right that the crisis was a mistake, but blame for that lies with the government, not just the banks. They failed to keep track of the situation, and loose legislation did nothing to prevent it.
You say this isn't the bank's fault, but it was their direct actions that caused millions to lose their jobs and homes. It revealed not just the incompetence in the system, but also the apathy. These bankers didn't care about what they were doing.
I'm not saying that the banks weren't responsible, but you have to recognize that people will always do as much as they can to get away with. It's the only way to stay ahead of your competitors. Now that tighter rules and restrictions are in place, the crisis won't be able to repeat itself.
As long as businessmen have that attitude, it will always happen again. If another crash happens in 30 years, it will be even worse, because the whole world will be connected financially in the future.
You're talking about globalization.
Big businesses are going international. The world is shrinking. It's inevitable.
Globalization is a great thing. It gives businesses, small or large, new opportunities for both supply and demand.
And it opens up the labour market too, helping cultural integration.
You can argue that it's more of a cultural takeover. American culture dominates the world.
That's a whole different argument. It's helped a lot of smaller economies find ways to make money.
It also means cheaper prices for customers. Even with the cost of imports, foreign goods are often cheaper than home-produced ones.
But it's not all good news. Those cheaper foreign goods are stealing business from home industry and hiring a lot more immigrant workers and deprived citizens of jobs. Also, everyone knows the stories about sweatshops in India and Southeast Asia. Cheaper labour isn't always a good thing if it encourages exploitation of those in need.
I'm sure they'd rather have poor jobs than none. It's their government's responsibility to get their people a good deal. Businesses will go where their costs are lowest.
Then it comes back to CSR. Businesses have the responsibility to the society in which they operate.
Society is a lot of different people though. We're socially responsible to buy fair trade products, to support struggling foreign producers. But at the same time, that means taking businesses away from local producers. You can't help everyone.
Of course not. A business must make money. But they should also keep in mind the benefits of acting ethically and the consequences of unethical behaviour. Almost every month we get a new big business scandal like Sports Direct's mistreatment of employees or Amazon's tax dodging. It's depressing to see, but it also shows that people aren't willing to put up with it. Businesses lose customers over things like this.
True, and being able to prove that your products are ethically sourced makes for great PR. Companies save money by donating to charity thanks to government tax relief. It's called enlightened self-interest.
You could also call it doing the right things for the wrong reasons. I'd like to think that businessmen wouldn't need such incentives to behave in such a manner, but I'll take what I can get.
That's why we need governments to make sure that businesses can be socially responsible without damaging their profits. That way, every businessman would act ethically, regardless of motive. Do intentions matter if the end result is the same?
I suppose not. Thank you for having this discussion with me.
Thank you very much.